All right. My name's Paul. I've got autism and I make random videos based on my version of autism and the way my head works. And I stick the videos on the internet in case anyone wants to watch them, and the audio in case anyone wants to listen on the podcast stuff. Um, anyway, a lot's gone on this week and a lot is going on in the world. And I don't want to talk about that right now. Maybe I'll talk about it when I've had a bit more time to think about it. I don't want to be too spontaneous in doing a video about what's going on in Russia and Ukraine at the minute, but I am petrified because they're messing about near nuclear power plants. It's insane. So instead, I've decided to go down a different route and try and do a bit more of an uplifting video based around what could potentially be just me. But I've done this before. I've opened up a bit more. I've sort of told you things like, when I did the Dexter video, I said, you know, maybe it's just me. And maybe what I want to talk about today is just me too. But I'll just give you an update on my week because it's been a disaster. So Monday comes around and I had to go to work. Of course I do. And I needed to go to Penrith, which is for me, I just have to go north for a long time. I have to go north for about 2.5 hours, 3 hours before I get there. And the plan was to do the job there, then get back in the car, travel an hour west, do a stay over, and then do three more jobs the day after, and then travel 3.5, 4 hours home, which is usually how I do my Mondays and Tuesdays if I can, to try and get the bulk of the work done at the beginning of the week because that makes sense to me. And if I can do more of it over more hours, then that limits the amount of days I'm away from home. And home is where my pajamas are. And that's what's important to me. So I get 10 miles away from where I was going, and the car gets an engine warning light. So I instantly hate that. I was going to swear, but I'm trying not to on these things because, it's there's no reason. Swear words are just words that fill space when you haven't got the right words, isn't it? Um, and I got 10 miles away, the engine warning light comes on, and I get really petrified of that because one, it's going to cost me money in the end. It always does. Two, the biggest thing is I'm away from home anyway. So in my head, I'm very methodical, which will all lead on to the topic I want to bang on about. But um, I have a one track mind. If I'm leaving the house for a mission, which is what it is in my head, then I go, complete the mission, return home, and then it's pajamas, takeaways, puppy cuddles. And if I look scruffier than usual, me and George have been playing tug of war all day in the garden because I've been off today. Friday today, just so you know. Um, and yeah, so if I look scruffier than usual, and that's probably why. Um, what was he on about? See how quick my mind falls off. Uh, Tug of war, car, expensive. There we go. Brought it back. So, anyway, long story short, I was 10 miles away, get this engine warning light. So there's me worried because I don't want to be away from home. I want to come back. I want to relax. So I start getting worried, thinking, oh, I've got to find a garage nearby. And, I phoned my garage on the trip and I was like, it's come on. What do I do? Am I all right? Can I get home? And the guy's like, probably not. You're going to need to find a garage. Uh, so I think, all right, well, I'm only 10 miles away. I can get where I'm going. I can find a garage on the phone. I can ask if I can drop it off to have a diagnostic run on it. And then I can go and do the job and hopefully it'll all line up, before I get back in the car and go west. But then 4.5 miles before I get where I'm going, the traffic comes to a standstill on the motorway and it's just a solid block of traffic. And I'm now even more bothered because the guy on the phone said, don't turn your car off because the chances are it won't restart. So I'm sat in traffic at a standstill, waiting for this traffic to restart, and it's just not restarting. And I'm worried because I can't turn my car off. I need the bathroom, and we're not going anywhere. So, you know, the highway code says you can't, or the rules say you can't use your phone while your car is on. But I was going nowhere. I wasn't allowed to turn it off, and I want to know why I'm stuck. So, um, you know, the phone come out, whether I was in the driver's seat or not. Will, you know, that's to be disputed at this moment in case there's someone watching who wants to prosecute me. And see that basically there'd been a car fire on the motorway, and you know I'm quite near to where it was, so the fire appliances are going past, police, ambulance, loads of them. 7 hours later, the traffic starts again. So I was already panicked because I was meeting someone and I didn't have their number because for some reason they didn't have it on their work profile. So I was like, oh no, you know, and I hate letting people down anyway. So it was like, got to find a number. I was emailing people who I knew were associated with this person and they were all off. I emailed my admin person and they were off. It was a night. And in the end, they phoned me half an hour later and were like, where are you? Like, been trying to get in touch with you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm stuck in traffic. And I'm apologizing for being stuck in traffic. Wasn't my fault. You shouldn't apologize if it's not yours to apologize for, but that's the way I feel. I can't help myself. But yeah, so 7 more hours sat in this traffic, and then I had to basically go round the roundabout that I was near, which I would have been coming off anyway, and travel 3 hours back home with a bust car, needing the bathroom like you wouldn't believe. My earlobes were burning. That's how bad I was at needing a wee. I'd already surpassed the fullness and the feeling sick and honestly, I felt disgusting. I got back, realized it was a bit of a trauma because I was wiped out, an ordeal, and I was wiped out. I went to bed early. The next day, you know, sort of getting in touch with the garage. I want to know what's up with the car, and they couldn't see me till Friday today. But 10 miles away from my house, my tyre pressure light came on as well. It's like this car is falling to bits, and I certainly don't have the money for a new car. So it was just horrible, a horrible, horrible day. Then I had a horrible week in work. And the only good thing that happened in work is apparently they're setting up a secret group on this work Facebook, which is called Workplace, for neurodiverse people. So I've moaned enough about all my problems with work, the way workplace assessment should be, and I'll do a video on what I think a workplace assessment should be like and how it should move forward. Because I've got to put my money where my mouth is. I can't just moan. And then basically, I volunteered myself to the person who set the group up and said, "Look, I've got stories to share. You know, this company let me down. I don't want it to let other people down who are like me. So I'll join this group too. And I will, I'll share stories. I could be sneaky and just rip off the video from here because I've said I've got a YouTube account, but I'm not sharing it because, you know, I slag work off sometimes. And the thing is, I don't slag them off. I'm just telling the truth. But the problem is in this world is if you tell the truth and somebody doesn't like it, then you're wrong. When it's like in a workplace setting, and that's absolutely not how it should be. They should go, you know what, Paul, you're right. That is a failing on our behalf. What should we do to be better? So that's a problem as well. But I've never said who I work for, so that's a little bonus, I suppose. So yeah, I've decided to say, all right, I'll put my money where my mouth is, and I'll tell you what I think should happen moving forward. And if I can help, I'll help. And that's just the way I want to be. Is to help people because it feels nice to help, doesn't it? You know. Um, Anyway, I mean, I remember once I helped this person move a television from a caravan into a car, and they gave me some beer for it. And it was only when they were driving away I thought I could have just helped someone rob a house. Might not have even been their caravan. You know what I mean? They might have just. But anyway, got to stop thinking too much. So yeah, that was the good part of the week was volunteering into that thing. The bad part was my car was broke and I nearly burst with being so full of needing a wee. And then the car comes back today. The garage didn't charge me, which is so nice. I don't know whether it was because I was telling them stories and making them laugh when I went in there, because I had a character on today, which is the whole point of my video, which we'll get to, I promise. But it's basically, I've got something wrong with a certain valve in the car. And when it goes, not if, when it goes, it could be tomorrow, it could be in 10,000 miles, but it is going to go. It's going to cost me just for the valve, not even the replacement of it. I've got to pay for the time and labor too. But the valve is £740. Mate, I mean, depending on what Putin does, I might not even have a job or a car, if he keeps messing around near these nuclear plants. But yeah, so I've got that to come. So fantastic. Anyway, so let's get on to my daft topic. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but I know I do this. And I never realized until I paid attention to who I was. So I want to talk about choosing your character. And what I mean by that is it's not the same as the mask. The mask that you wear or I wear artistically is so I can blend in. It's so I can break even. It's so I can just be Mr. Average, Mr. Normal, not offend, not upset, just to, you know, exist because I'm not allowed to be me outside. I can't be me and attend a meeting. I just have things that make me different in other people's eyes, but it's not a good difference. It's a strange difference. It's a weird difference, odd. And it's not good. So that's why I have to mask every single day to blend in. However, I also have characters that I am as a person. I will absorb a character. So I will try and explain this. Now, I know I did a video where I talked about connecting with Dexter Morgan, relating to Dexter Morgan, the character from the show Dexter. And I do. I understand what he says. I relate to how he says them. I can connect with the way he acts and the social awkwardness. That's all me. I get it. Same with a fella called Carl Pilkington, for those who don't know who he is. He's another person who's bald from Manchester. And I know it might look like I've got hair, but there's about 12 of them up there. Like bend down, you can see all the ground beneath the the grass, so to speak. Especially at the back, I've got a solar panel there where hair should be. But Carl Pilkington is just a simple bloke who says it as it is. There's there's no airs and graces, airs and graces, and it's just obvious. Sometimes you don't need to mess about. The answer is the answer. Now, I connect with both of them on two different levels. Dexter, a character with the social awkwardness, Carl Pilkington with his very simplistic way of thinking and how a lot of the world does his head in. Agreed, same, I get that. But that's connecting and that's relating. That is not being a character. So think about it like when you're a kid. And I hope I make sense. I hope other people can understand what I'm saying and it's not just me, but we'll find out. I'm more than willing to be the one where everyone else goes, sorry, Paul, you're well off. This is one we don't understand. We don't get you on it. But if you think about when you're a kid and He-Man was on TV or whatever cartoon was on, whatever age you are, like He-Man used to, whip the sword out, power of Grayskull, I have the power, and he's loving it. Now, when you're a kid, you would go outside and you'd get a stick and you'd be the same. You'd be acting as if you were He-Man and you'd be there, power of Grayskull, I have the power. And you'd be loving it. And you would dress up. I remember going to school for a fancy dressed like Donatello, from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And, while I was in that character, I was sort of acting a bit more Donatello. Like I wasn't acting like Michelangelo, for example. I wasn't just there shouting cowabunga and I want pizza and all that. I was being a bit more logical, as a kid dressed as a turtle, for as logical as you can be. but that's when you're a kid, you pretend, and it's fun to make believe, and you can be whoever you want. People can be princes, princesses, action men, army people, all those sorts of things, and that's just what they've got all those dress up clothes for. Spider-Man, you can be Spider-Man, Iron Man, go for it. But when you're a kid, that's normal. But when it's not normal, or when it's not spoken about anymore, is when you're an adult, especially as old as me. And I know I only look 12. For those of you who would just listen to me, that was a joke. I clearly don't look 12. I look like 12-year-olds, added together in age, to be honest. But when you're an adult, being in character is usually seen as a bit weird. Like, why would a grown up still make believe? Why would you still pretend to be someone else? Why would you go about your life? Because it's not the same as being a kid when you could pick up a stick on a field with all your mates when they were all doing the same thing, and I have the power. It's different when you're a grown person, when you're an adult, when you've got responsibilities, and it's because I think being an adult, sometimes there's a word there, maturity. And you have to be mature. You have to talk. Like, it's the oddities that come with maturity. Like, you have to speak with a certain tone, a certain accent, have your hair a certain way, and dress a certain way, and have certain hobbies. And people will then go, oh, yes, they're very mature. No, no, you can be mature and still laugh at farts. I think for me, maturity is once you've lost your stupidity from inexperience. Because when you are a kid, you are inexperienced. That works in the world of fire. If somebody's under the age of 18, I've still got to consider them as an inexperienced person. That's what the legalities want from me in my work. But as an adult, it's kind of not spoken about. But adults still pretend. Of course, I'm not talking about the mask. Everybody has a level of masking, whether they're, putting on a mask to make people think they've got confidence when really they've got low confidence, and that's why they act. And people will try to pretend that they're secure when inside they might be a nervous wreck and full of insecurities. That's masking. I'm talking about characters. So, like people in like Kiss, the band Kiss, they're there with all the makeup on and big stilettos and sticking tongues out, and they're they're a character. Now, I have characters, and my characters come from television. And I'll try to explain. I'm not going to give you all of them because I'm 18 minutes in. Feels like I've just started. All right, I will really nail it down to the main ones then. So, when I was younger, JD from Scrubs. I enjoyed JD with his silliness, with his daydreaming, because I totally related to the daydreaming. He had a serious job, but he would still have his best friend, and he would be fun with his best friend. And, it was focused around them more than it was focused around the work, and relationships. But there was always that common denominator of his best friend and the fun they would have, and the differences and the growing apart. And, at the time I was working away and I lived with my mate Baz. So Baz was Turk, for those of you who know what Scrubs is. Except Baz is like a 6'4" white man. So, not exactly like Turk, but, you know, we had a very good friendship. We had a different connection that nobody understood. And, relationships happen and people go away and life happens and you go to different places or work different roles, but you're trying to keep the friendship together, but things get in the way. And I was more JD because things were more fun and a bit more loose. And I could take that character on and I could make him laugh. I could make people laugh. I would be a bit more silly. That was more what I focused on when I was younger. But now I am kind of a mixture of certain people off television. So if you take the show Lie to Me, if you remember that, if you've seen it. So Lie to Me was a show about a person who the main character was called Cal Lightman, and it was played by Tim Roth, and he would be He was a someone who was an expert in micro expression, but his character, he was, quite especially as the seasons went on, he was quite animated. He was a bit, a bit leery. Yeah, he sort of like he used a front of eccentricity, but the reality is that he did pay attention, but he made it seem like he wasn't, and he'd give away a lot of him to make people feel a bit more relaxed around him. And he usually had an end game with the way he acted. So he'd be a bit more, a bit more movement in the face, a bit more hand gestury, and his whatever he did was accentuated in his behavior, but he could get away with a lot because of it. And I liked that character, so I took that character on. And that helped me because sometimes well, not sometimes, a lot of the time I can be quite neurotic. I can flap over the littlest of things when really I need to relax a bit. So Cal Lightman in me, I can bring out when I just need a bit more fun to something. If I've got to attend something which is usually going to be overly serious when it really doesn't need it, I'll burst in as Cal Lightman. And obviously, I don't go in character. I don't speak with a Cockney accent, and I don't pretend I'm an expert at micro expression. But I've watched all of the show. I understand his mannerisms, and I become an extension of all the characters. But they are it's sort of like a plug-in, like you get on a computer or a sound software. I have that plug-in for my base level and go, right, well, I'm me. But I, as a person, even though I'm masking, I will still feel like I'm anxious and suffering through it. Whereas if I take that plug-in and I become Cal Lightman, bit like a Matrix thing, if I can become that person, I'll be a bit more relaxed and I'll be able to, think a bit freer and become a bit more relaxed in myself and my attitude. And it allows me to alter my thought. Um, Someone else would be Hannibal Lecter from the series Hannibal, um, because Hannibal, obviously not about the killing. Again, I've got to stop picking on people who kill people, but Hannibal is very clean with everything, with the thought process. He speaks very well because he's played by Mads Mikkelsen, who's got I'm sure that's his surname, but he's Danish, and when he speaks English, he's got there's a difference in the voice, and it's tell me how you feel, Will. He's got this very different, and hopefully, if anyone's seen it, I don't know if that was a good impression or not, but it's just got this calmness to him. You can tell there's this monster inside, but he's so clean cut. He's so methodical. Everything he says, there is a reason. He's just got this calm, collected rationale, and he's good at what he does. He's got reasonable problem solving skills. He's a good ear for people, and he's quite professional with it. And if I need a bit of calm for my rationale, I can channel my inner Hannibal Lecter character. But I don't talk to people with, an English accent with a Danish tinge to it. I don't dress in perfect tailor-made suits and, have my beard straightened and be super clean cut. I don't do the full lot. I take what I need of that character. And it's all about how the character makes you feel. Whereas the mask is about blending in, it's about breaking even, and that's just what you need to do physically more than it is, for something on the inside. Whereas my characters are how I need to absorb on the inside. If I know something is going to happen or go wrong, or there's something that could go wrong, like if I was to have an interview and I was going to go as me, I can stick the mask on and I can sit there and I can hope for the best. But the reality is, I need to be a character who can draw attention, who can command an audience, someone who can leave silences and people are waiting for me to speak. Whereas the real me, the normal me, when I speak and I pause, people see that as a window for them to talk about whatever they want. and I lose my train of thought, as I did at the beginning when I talk about myself. And I then forget completely what I was on about. I then go a little bit deeper on the inside, and I don't want to talk as much because somebody has stolen my time. Whereas if I choose my Hannibal Lecter character, because I'm presenting different and because I might be very, very still, my body isn't moving, and what I'm saying is very punctuated. It stops. My sentences might stop more in the middle than they would stop at the end. And then at the end, where you'd have a full stop, I carry on speaking. So the actual structure of a sentence becomes different and it commands the audience. And because I'm not being as Cal Lightman and flappy, the only way to take anything from me is what I'm saying, because I'm not moving. I'm giving you clear, concise answers, but I'm doing it in a different method. And that helps me to calm down. I look at a time. All right. I'll pick on one more just for the speed of it. I've recently watched Reacher, Jack Reacher, like the series off Amazon, I think it was. And he's a calm guy until he gets provoked. And I enjoyed his calmness. I enjoyed his very placid nature with the world going on around him, no matter how crazy it was kind of like, okay, everything can go crazy, but until something actually happens, why would I be worked up? And it was interesting because I just watched it. I thought I'll try this character out when I'm checking into a hotel. And I checked into my hotel, and the person in front was kicking off about the price of things, the key card not working, was going crazy, and it kept me in the queue for a while. Now, usually I'd be really worked up because I don't like queues. I don't like being this close to people. I don't usually do this. I usually just wait in the car, but instead I was just putting myself in Reacher's shoes and sort of saying, if Reacher was stood here right now, none of this would make any difference. So why should it make a difference to me? And I plugged Reacher in and I waited. And sure enough, when it came my time, I walked forward and the lady behind the reception couldn't have been more apologetic. And I was saying, don't you worry, it couldn't be helped. You don't need to apologize for things that are not your fault. And I checked in and something went wrong on check-in where it said that my meal allowance wasn't on there, which I get from work. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go to the room, I'll read my emails, and I'll find the part where it shows you I have a meal allowance, and then I'll bring it back and you can do what you need to do. Whereas usually I would have been like, no, I get a meal allowance. It's part of the booking. So someone's gone wrong somewhere. Can you phone someone, please? Because that's the reason I stay in a Premier in it, so I don't have to use my own money. But instead, I kept it cool, I kept it chill, and it helped because me, the neurotic me, the one who overanalyzes everything and goes crazy, I would have created stress and I would have lost calmness in a simple situation. So I need these characters. And I hope you know what I'm on about. But so, like, let's say Cal Lightman with his busyness and his hands and his jokey and his more animated. I can use Cal Lightman when I train people because I can create more of a personality when I'm trying to make serious topics light and tell stories because it makes things a bit better than just sitting there and listening to boring stuff. I can channel my Hannibal Lecter when I've got to do a complex fire risk assessment because I've got to dissect everything and find the logic. And the only way to do that is to be calm and remove emotion because I'm talking about brickwork, I'm talking about systems and functionality. And I can channel Reacher when I need some patience. So it's sometimes not just using one character, you can mix your characters. But the point is, what I'm trying to make, I'm never without a character. And I can guarantee you, if I was to watch some of my videos back, I will notice my Cal Lightman more because my eyebrows will be going and I'll probably move a bit more because he's always readjusting himself. So what I wanted to say is I'm never without a character, and I wanted to share that because I'm not sure if it's just me or if you do that too. And if you do, let me know, and maybe let me know who your characters are. Until next time, thanks for watching. and keep smiling.